Okay. Wow, that room went quiet very quickly. Welcome, everyone. This is so amazing to see so many amazing humans in one room all at once. So thank you so much for joining me. I just wanted to let you know we're also live streaming today, which is super exciting. So to all of you that are not here in person, also live, welcome. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Donohoe-Simpson, and I am a coach, and I am host of Masterpiece Magic and mother of 15-year-old twins, and I am so glad that you are all here today. Oh my goodness. I'd like to acknowledge the land that we are on and the people that have come before us. And I just need to say out loud, I think I have dreamed of this moment my whole life. And here we are. And thank you so much for coming to support me today. It just means so incredibly much. What if we could all do what we loved? What if I told you this event came together effortlessly, and yet it's the biggest thing I've ever done in my life? Because planning events and bringing people together is my gift. And because it is my gift and it is what I love to do, it did come effortlessly. What if our jobs and our vocations were our leisure? What if every day we were excited to get up and get out of bed and go to work? So today we are here to create an open conversation about the future of education based on our experiences through Masterpiece Magic, holding space for teens to step into who they are and what makes them come alive. A journey that is endless, that will continue to grow and evolve as we all continue to grow and evolve. So I would like, at this moment, to take a minute to thank our amazing sponsors, Cameron Contracting. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors. So thank you to Cameron Contracting for sponsoring this event. Thank you to Crown Isle. They sponsored this room and all the AV equipment, which is so amazing. Just so you know, there will also be amazing food afterwards, so don't run away. We also have West Coast Karma that has sponsored this event as well, so thank you, West Coast Karma. Thank you to Yavi Farms, that you see the beautiful flowers on the table, and Linda, thank you so much. And thank you so much to Shoreline Orthodontics as well. And as you see up on the screen, we will be giving away 2 beautiful $1,000 baskets after this, so I hope you did get your ticket up at the front when you came in. So this is super exciting. And now I would like to introduce to you my friend, I'm going to cry already. Dear friend, my partner, Alexander, amazing human being. He's flown in from Switzerland to be here today with us. He's a best-selling author, a climate artist, a founder of the Masterpiece Magic movement, and a force of nature. Alexander is going to lead us through a little introduction. So pass it over to you, Alexander.
Thank you, Shannon. Why are you here? Why did you come? To support Shannon, perhaps? But I suspect more than that. You know, time is one of the most valuable things we have. You didn't come because you paid money. You came and you gave your time. So why did you come? Why come here today? Why does this resonate with you? What is important about this? Shannon mentioned her children. I have 2 children. Sasha is 9 and Daniel is 6, and they're now back in Switzerland. And if you have children, you know what it's like to bring up children. And we have children in the room, little children. Isn't that amazing that we have the energy of children here? And if you don't have children, and if you do have children, of course, you were once a child. There's a child inside each of us. So why are you here? So I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes for a second. And if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, that's fine too. But just close your eyes for a second. And as you do that, breathe. You know, one of the secrets of life is breathing. So just breathe. Breathe in through the nose, all the way down to the belly. And relax. And as you do that, just feel into the potential inside you. How great is that potential? How great is the potential inside you? Have you expressed that potential? Have you fulfilled your potential? Maybe partly. Maybe there's more. Now feel into the potential of the person next to you. You may know that person. You may never have met that person. How great is the potential of the person next to you? Now feel into the potential on your table. How great is that potential? Now feel into the potential in this room. Just feel that inside you. Just imagine if all of us in this room fulfilled our potential. Imagine the ripples that would send out to this amazing community. Imagine the ripples it would send out to the mainland and all the way back east. Imagine how that would influence North America, or perhaps all the way to Europe, or perhaps all the way around the world. Now, feel into the potential in the children that you know. Maybe your children. Maybe the child inside you. Now just feel into the potential in all the children around the world. Imagine if we were to awaken that potential, an entire generation of potential to their full potential. What would change? In a moment, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes again. And when you do, I'm going to invite you to turn to the person next to you and answer that simple question. Why are you here? Choose who goes first. And then I'll give you a minute to answer the question, and then I'll invite you to switch over. So when you're ready, open your eyes, turn to the person next door, introduce yourself if you don't know the person, and answer that question. Why are you here?
Hi. I'm Ofri. Nice to meet you. Ofri. Like Ofri. Yes?
Alrighty. I'm sure you could go on, but I want to hear from a couple of people. So, why are you here? Who wants to answer that question? Stick up a hand. Alright.
I'm here to support the energetic movement of future generations towards good. An actual, true way of educating them.
And what's your name?
Christy.
Christy, thank you. Beautiful. Love it. I'd love to hear from one other person.
Hi, my name is Bob. I spent 40 years as an educator, 40 years. And from the first time I started, I thought this has to change. And it hasn't. We're still in industrial revolution model of education. It's wrong. It doesn't work for a lot of people, especially those with diverse needs. And that's why I'm here.
Bob, thanks for being here. Educators are amazing. Thank you for the work that you've done. Really, from the bottom of my heart. Because you knew the day you started, this was 40 years ago, that the system wasn't right. And yet you still did it. You still did it within a system that wasn't right. And I want to just acknowledge and recognize that you did that. Not easy, knowing that the system doesn't work. And 40 years later, as you rightly point out, the system hasn't changed. And yet the world has. We live in a different world today than we lived in 40 years ago. And we still run that same industrial revolution system that I grew up with in the UK. You know, it's thanks to us that the industrial revolution happened, and yet we still run that model. So what we're here to do is to talk about how we change that. And in communities like this, it can happen. I know because I've seen it. So let me hand back to Shannon, because each of us has our own story, and Shannon's going to share her story. Everyone in this room has their own story in relationship to education. That's what we're here to explore, because together we can change it. Shannon.
Thank you, Alexander. Beautiful. Well, I am very excited to introduce to you Amor, and hopefully she'll be able to pop up on the screen here and join us live. So Amor, oh, is that you? Can you hear me, Amor? Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Amor is our other partner. Amor could not join us today, but she is live in Botswana. Amor is a passionate, creative force committed to encouraging others to find their authentic voice and be the best versions of themselves. And that honestly couldn't sum up Amor better. She does all the visuals, she creates all of the content for Masterpiece Magic, and she has made all the behind scenes for Masterpiece Magic and this event flow effortlessly with love. So thank you, Amor, and welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
So it's 8:30 p.m. Botswana time. We have the Atlantic Ocean between us, and I think we are 16,000 kilometers away. And with technology, I'm right here with all of you. My heart is there, my spirit is there, my energy is with all of you. And thank you for that lovely introduction, Shannon. I think I could introduce myself with all different titles: mother, teacher, manager, but I have different hats. And what I would like to say is a question that was asked some years ago to a group of us. And the question was, what is the key message or imprint that you would like to leave behind when you're long gone? So this question came to my mind while I was driving about Cape Town. I was in Cape Town with my family last week. And I thought, let me share this question with each of you. So ask yourself that question, and here's my answer. Mine is to embody, to breathe, to exhale, to express, and to create with love and from love. And I have had the honor to be on a journey with Alexander and Shannon as we beautifully put together this program called Masterpiece Magic. It is an online program for teens 13 to 17 years old. And we give them tools to come alive, to find their passions. Let me just leave one quick sentence as I end this. It's so good to be here, even if I'm online, far away from all of you, and technology makes it possible. And that's what we do with Masterpiece Magic. We connect with teens online, and some participants come from Colombia, Canada, Botswana, UK, and many more countries. So I leave this all with you, and I look forward as this event unfolds.
Yay. Beautiful. That was so nice to have Amor. She really wanted to be here today, but she is here in spirit, and I think this is the beautiful thing. Like, we have this amazing program that connects teens from all over the world, and like she said, we've had teens from Botswana, Switzerland, UK, Canada, Mexico, which is so amazing, and they love getting online and knowing that, oh, it's snowing here and it's sunny over here. So, why am I here? Why am I here? Bob, I really resonate with what you said. I am here today because in grade 2, I was excited to come into the classroom. And I remember sitting up front in the front row of the class with my blue dress and the yellow polka dots. And my teacher announced as the class was getting started that I actually didn't pass grade 1. And in front of all my friends, she asked me to pack up my desk, and she ushered me back to grade 1 in front of all my friends. And I never forgot that moment. I never forgot that moment, and I've spent a big portion of my life believing that I was a failure, because in that moment, I was a failure, or I was told by the school system that I was a failure. And I've spent a lot of my life not trying things because I was so afraid to fail. And I think this is one of the things that I would love to see changed. Fast forward to 2 years ago. Michael knows this story well. Michael has worked with our son Nolan, who's homeschooled with us for the last 5 years. And Nolan was, Michael, you've been with us for 3, and Nolan is homeschooled for 5. But Nolan was really having a hard time with doing projects and finishing projects. Anytime anything was hard, he would just quit. And so finally we connected with his counselor, and there was Michael and myself and Marty and the counselor, and we were all sitting in the counseling session. And halfway through the session, I realized that actually the counseling session was for me. It wasn't actually for my son. It was the failure that I had felt that I had then projected onto my son. And in that humbling moment, I realized that kids do as they see. Kids do as they see. So standing here today is not just for me. This is to show my kids and other kids that you can do what you dream of doing. So, yeah, thank you. So I would like to take a minute to introduce our panelists one at a time. And I'm going to introduce you first. You've already met Alexander, and I'm going to turn the floor back over to Alexander, where he is going to tell you why he is here and share a bit of his story.
Because I mentioned already, each of us has a story, and my story may resonate with you differently than Shannon's. But our stories are archetypical stories of what happens with the current education system. So similar story, age 3, all I wanted to be was an artist. Fast forward to the age of 16, I just painted the best painting that I'd ever painted. I was so proud of it. And there I was in the art department at school, and my father was talking to the art teacher. And he came to me and he said, look, I've just had a conversation with the art teacher, and I've talked to your mother, and we don't believe that you're good enough to make enough money as a professional artist. And he encouraged me to go and study business, and I did. I went to Edinburgh University, and I stopped eating properly. And I drank in order to relax myself enough to eat. I ended up in hospital twice through drinking. Fast forward another 9 years, and there I am sitting in the HR department of the company I'd started working for. And it was my dream, I thought, to work for this company in marketing, because there was some level of creativity. And she looked at me and she said, I have bad news for you. You've just completed the 2-year training program at this company, but you're not creative enough for us to continue working with you. So a boy of 16 wants to be an artist. A man of 25 is not even creative enough to work for a company that isn't even creative. What is wrong with our education system? So in the next 4 months, I went and did my first personal development program. And I put some things in the past. And 2 months later, I got offered a job by the same company, earning 50% more, doing a project that I was actually passionate about. Now that can happen to all of us. That shift, that transition can happen to all of us. And now what I get to do is to help people a little bit older than this lovely girl here, a little bit older than the 2 babies at the back, to actually work out why they are here, what they're here to do. And with Shannon's support and Amor's support, we've started to do that with children around the world, which is amazing. So that's a little bit about me, and I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, Alexander. Okay, well, I'm going to invite Michael to speak a little bit about his story, but first I'm going to tell you a little bit about Michael. So Michael has worked in my home for 3 years, and this man has the capacity to hold space for just about anything. He does call himself the human Ativan, and it is literally, I love that about Michael. He is an amazing human being, a musician, independent educator who guides and encourages his students to connect with their inner wisdom and provide a foundation from which they can learn anything they choose, and encourages them to use their own mind and their heart to come to their own conclusions rather than just memorizing. Michael.
Hello? Oh, I'm already on. Okay. Hello. I often wonder what parts of my story to tell, because as you all probably know with your own stories, they're not short. There's a lot of pieces to our each individual lives that really make us who we are. But in terms of education, my experience was that I really enjoyed learning. I loved learning from a very young age. My mother was obsessed with the idea that I was going to be a genius, and she used to buy me, well, she bought me one Mensa book, and I didn't understand any of it. So I remember from a very early age, like this pressure to be smart, because that's what was valued in me. And so for a long time, it was easy to go along with that. I found school to be very easy. I didn't really try hard. I would draw in class all day long and then somehow absorb the information, and then I would get really good grades. So up until grade 6, I was like a straight A student, always top of my class. And then in grade 7, it was like something flipped. And it was many things. The work in general became more challenging, I found. It required a lot more effort and attention. And I wasn't used to that because everything came easy to me in terms of education before that. So when this challenge came, I felt overwhelmed and I felt all the pressure of being smart was kind of thrown on me in that year. As soon as my grades started to fall, it wasn't received well. And so then through a number of other things that happened in grade 7, I had some experiences in school that were very personal, that were really difficult for me to process. And I recognize that now I never had the system or the encouragement or the know-how to process my own emotions, to understand what I was experiencing. I didn't know why I was feeling the way I was feeling. So I was consistently in somewhat of a state of stress and fear of what might happen if I don't succeed. And rather than rising to the occasion, I felt defeated. And from grade 7 all the way up until grade 12, my grades just fell and fell and fell to the point that I didn't care at all about schoolwork in high school. And I basically just barely passed. I always did enough just to barely pass. I cheated. I used my friends' notes. I took all the shortcuts possible just to make sure that I got through high school, just to make sure that my parents were pleased with that. And so this love of learning I had when I was a child was kind of squashed out of me in a way because of the system itself, because of the way, the lack of education on how to process emotions and how to understand myself, the lack of support, and the lack of encouragement, and the knowing that it's okay no matter what you do, it will be acceptable. Because I had this high expectation that I felt I could never meet, I decided to basically not even try. But then later in my life, in my early 20s, through a number of different things, I decided that I wanted to change my life, and I found basically that I wasn't learning for a lot of reasons, and I wanted to go back to what it felt like to have that accomplishment. So I started to ask myself, what does it mean to learn? And I started to teach myself, and I learned how to teach myself. And through learning that, I realized how, by knowing how I can teach myself, I found all the different ways to teach others. And I realized how everybody is unique, and there are a lot of different models that work for a lot of different people in a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of things we share in terms of how we can learn, but we need the individual attention as well, and that's something that I gave to myself and then later gleaned from other teachers as well. So this challenge I faced when I was young, going back and losing my love for learning, was rehashed when I no longer had the pressure to be smart. I could be as dumb as I wanted to be, and that gave me freedom. And then so I started learning for my own enjoyment, the things that really interested me. And then I just got hooked on learning again. And I was really excited just to expand my mind, just to understand myself more deeply and to understand the world more deeply. And now I can't stop. I just learn constantly. I teach constantly. It's a joy for me. And if anything, what I want to share with the next generation is the joy and love for learning itself. And that's what I feel is a big part of the future of education in general. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And just a quick shout out to Michael. He was just the last alumni guest speaker on Masterpiece Magic, which was amazing to have him on the panel speaking to all the teens around the world. So our next amazing guest panelist is Sean Aiken. I am so excited to have you here, Sean. He is the founding team member of Wayfinding College, a TEDx speaker, and author of the 1 Week Job Project, which documents his amazing journey where he worked 52 jobs in 52 weeks throughout North America. And he published his book by Penguin Random House, Father of Three. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. It truly is a privilege to be here. Thank you. I'm confident that every single person in this room could be up here sharing their story and has a really important story that needs to be heard. And so I don't take it for granted that I today get to be up here and that Shannon asked me to do this. So thank you. It all began when I was 4. Yeah, so my story, I kind of see myself as, similarly with thread has been shared here, almost as a failed product of the education system. And what's interesting about that is that in the eyes of the traditional education system, I was an utter success. So I graduated, did well in high school, graduated, went to college because that's what I felt like I was supposed to do. I got a 4.0 GPA. I was the class valedictorian. I was the captain of the men's volleyball team. And I'd kind of created this construct of what I thought I should be. What is this ideal citizen in the world? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to be good at school, I'm supposed to be a good citizen. What does that mean? And at the same time, I was an utter failure in terms of knowing anything about who I was and what I wanted to do with my life. So I kind of felt a little ripped off once the traditional school system spat me out into the real world, this open expanse of being able to do anything that I wanted to do, and I felt incredibly ill-prepared because I didn't know anything about myself, the things that truly mattered. This led me to really craft my own education. Shannon mentioned the 1-week job project. So I created this website where I said, you know what, anyone in the world can offer me a job for 1 week, and I'll travel around the world doing a different job each week for an entire year to learn about myself, to learn about who I am, my values, the things that really make me come alive, and see what I need in a career to be happy. This led to supporting a friend of mine who's a professor in Portland. We ended up helping open up a college called the Wayfinding a College. And it's a 2-year program, accredited program in Oregon, all centered around how can we support people in discovering who they are and what makes them come alive. And so it's really centered around, my work is centered all around this question. And that's why it has such profound meaning for me, because I remember what it was like for myself to experience this immense pressure of facing this question of what do I want to do with my life and having no idea how to take that first step. And so my work has really shifted in terms of supporting that and how can we shift that so that others don't have to experience that same thing that I did. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much. My son Nolan has read your book, by the way. He liked it. It was awesome. So do you see yourself in any of these stories? I'm sure parts of these stories resonate with you as they have with me. And each of us has our story, and they're unique. As we talk about the future of education, I invite you to think about your story and your potential and why you are here. So right now I'm going to invite Sean to give his perspective on the vision of the future of education.
Nice. Start with the easy questions.
Yeah, that's
nice.
a good one,
Great.
eh? Not small,
Awesome.
just a little one.
Cool. And with that, I'm wondering if we could turn the mic down, the volume on the mic down just slight. Maybe that might help with the, cool. That sounds a bit better with the reverb. Awesome. Cool. Future of education. All right, here's the answer. For me, this comes to a question of, how is education supporting individuals in asking life's big questions, right? We've heard that question a few times today. Why are you here? And when I look at life's big questions of why are you here, not just here today, and although that might be a part of it, but why are you here on this earth? What is your purpose? Your raison d'etre? And if the education system, no matter what it looks like for you, is not supporting us in answering life's greatest questions, then I'd argue that it's failing. Perhaps you can remember a time in your schooling system where learning all of a sudden stopped being fun. And I remember for myself, it was around 4th grade as well, where the introduction of grades, and it was kind of being told that I must learn certain things. And yet as children, there's this innate curiosity, right? An endless curiosity around the world and asking tons of questions, and there's this excitement that is innately there. And contrast that with a stereotypical teenager dragging themselves out of bed to go to school, right? It's almost like this cultural archetype of the cliched teenager doesn't want to go to school. It becomes this chore. It's more of like this conscious choice. And no wonder there is this massive pushback and this rebellious nature that we oftentimes see in teenagers, because they're at that point in their life when they're asking themselves these big questions. What is my purpose? Why am I not here? And they're not adequately being supported in answering these questions, right? Instead, they're being forced to learn. And I would say that forced learning is not learning, right? That's indoctrination. And there's so much focus on answering this question, what do you want to be when you grow up? When far more important and greater the question is, who am I? Right? What are my gifts? What is the contribution that I want to make to the world? Right? So instead of this asking, forcing this on this question of what do you want to be, and as if you need to become something else, instead it's more about discovering and embodying who we are, because it's who we are that informs what we do. Shannon mentioned what makes you come alive, and I've always loved this quote from Howard Thurman. And he said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do it. Right? Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Right? So what does that look like? Right? How does that actually translate? So instead of teaching children how to find work, what if we taught them how to find their life's work? How to uncover their gifts and their values, and how to create opportunities for them to explore and express their passions. So, I imagine education, seeing that it exists beyond the confines of the classroom. I'm sure it's many people's beliefs here. I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, that it's a community event, the raising of a child. Right? And I imagine it where the mind and the soul are valued equally as important, the heart and the soul are equally valued as our minds, right? And we're cultivating experiences for children to explore and embolden those curiosities, rather than focusing on figures and facts as well. And what might it look like to help a child turn into an adult who has a lived experience of the world and can confidently answer and know their place within it. Socrates has a great quote, as he has many, but one around education that I've always loved, that really sums up my vision of this, is he said, education is the kindling of a flame, right? Not the filling of a vessel. So ultimately, when I think of this vision of education, I see our role as educators, as community members, really not to determine the specific learning path of learning, nor even remove the obstacles along that path, because of course that's also part of the learning, but to ensure that nobody walks that path alone. Right? And that we're encouraging people to actually explore these life questions, not doing it alone, but among the support of the community as well. Yeah. So I'll pass it to Michael on how to do that and make it all happen. Wouldn't that be nice?
Sean.
Figure it out.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. I think one thing that really resonates for what you just said is, I've been homeschooling now for 6 years, and one of the gifts of homeschooling is having so many amazing human beings in my life, and 2 of them are sitting over there, Barbara and Bob, and they are Abigail and Nolan's tutors and teachers, and not only do they support my children, but they support me and Marty and who we are as parents. And this idea, what I grew up with was this idea that we had to do it all our own. But what if we could raise our children to be supported and surrounded by communities and have more experiences in their lives? So thank you, Sean. So Michael, the big question is how do you feel, or what are some of the challenges moving in the future, of education?
Okay. I just want to acknowledge right away that it's interesting how we're kind of going to be all answering the same question in different ways.
Beautiful.
And I was, because my question, been given my question beforehand, and it's to name the challenges. And I was like, well, when I name the challenges, I feel like the solutions are going to be inherent in my answers. And then I was like, well, what then is Alexander going to say? And then I trust that he'll just be able to expand so much on what we're saying. And I also, I feel that it's important to recognize how, because of the way I learn now, I don't really prepare much, but I always trust that my mind will find truth, because that's truly what I'm doing, is I'm facilitating a mind that can grab what I see to be true in every given moment. I didn't know how Sean was going to explain his vision, so I took a few notes in response, but I just trusted that something would come to me that would be true to me. I don't have to research and find out what are the solutions to what he's saying, what have other people thought. I can trust my own mind to come up with something. Whether it's expansive or if it's fully comprehensible is a different story, but I can trust that something will come through. And a few things that came through as he spoke, the number one thing that popped up was lack of support. This lack of really supporting the individual child and where they are, because it's so necessary to see each child as a unique expression of consciousness that has all these different characteristics and flavors and ideas of who and what they are. And it's important for us to work with them and listen to see what is necessary for each individual. And then, so again, specific attention, really focusing on each individual. And then I wrote next, the relationship with the child, or whoever you're teaching. It doesn't even, this is education. It doesn't matter if it's children or not. But what I found is so profound in my own work is that the number one thing I work on is developing a relationship with the child I'm working with. Because if I don't feel their trust, if they don't feel safe, if they don't see me as someone that is being true with them, then they're going to just try to memorize everything I say rather than taking it as something that they can trust. And I also welcome their challenge, because that's how you build trust. When I notice that there's this lack of encouragement to challenge what you hear, to challenge what you're told in a classroom. So one thing that I always tell every single child that I work with, or every single adult that I work with, is what I say is something that I want you to question. If it doesn't sound right to you, I want you to challenge me on it, and we'll discuss it, and we might find out that I'm wrong about it, or we might find a clarity in the middle between both of our opinions that are actually more right than both of us together. So again, I'm answering my own question. So Alexander, I hope you can expand. Another big hurdle is like black and white thinking. Thinking things is just on or off, left or right, up or down. It's one way or another. And compartmentalizing things into groups and only seeing the individual expressions with certain characteristics without understanding that we are malleable and we are changing. And what we are at one point could be different the next day. And it's important to recognize that that comes back to the relationship. When you have a relationship with your student, there's this experience of, oh, well, they learn this way, so I'm going to teach them this way ad infinitum. But then the next day they might shift in some way. Their brain might open up a little bit more. They might have a new way of understanding. So then you have to adapt. We are organisms that change and grow at all times, so it's important to recognize that change. And the education system in and of itself should be a living organism that changes and grows at all times. So to speak to answers are not even answers, because the answers we give here today as to what education could be might change in 5 years, 10 years, 5 days, who knows? It's important to recognize that everything is a living, growing organism that adapts to its environment. So one thing also that came through was this existential questions that we have when we were kids, and that kind of get squashed out. Who are we? What are we here for? That type of thinking is not really encouraged in regular school systems. And because it's scary to think, like, why am I here? What is this planet? What am I? That's a terrifying thing if we don't have support to feel comfortable answering those questions. So it's important for us to facilitate an environment where we can say to a child, you're safe. Go into your mind and ask why you're here. And if it feels scary, I'm here with you. That type of support is so necessary for us to really get through the big questions. So I see that as a very big hurdle, and the lack of safety in our environments. And another big one that I feel is probably one of the biggest is the momentum we have in the system we have. People are afraid to change into something new because we say, this has been working for so long and it's great in its own way and it has its flaws, but it would take way too much to change. And so I feel that really is an indicator of the lack of our faith in humanity, that we can change, we can tear it all down and burn, and then start from the bottom up, and we can make something beautiful. That's something I believe, and I think it's something that's necessary if we are actually to create a new system that works in a way that encourages this vision we have of the future and the future for our children in general. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Michael. Alexander is going to answer our next question, which is, what are the solutions for the future of education? Another small question.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Michael, thanks for setting me up as well. Really appreciate it. Actually, you've answered the question. You both have. So there's actually really nothing for me to say, except perhaps expand a little bit on what you said. You know, I left my story in that HR department when they said, you're fired. And pretty soon after that, I came across a quote. I love quotes, like Sean. And the quote came from Confucius: find a job that you love and never work another day in your life. And that really struck home to me. And that's what I've done ever since. I've been searching for what I really love. And I'm pleased to say that 14 years after I stopped painting, I started painting again. And when I look out of this window and I see the mountains behind covered in snow, that's home for me. That's where I go. That's my happy place. You know, I've painted in extreme locations all over the world, which is kind of a crazy thing to do. And one of the things I've noticed is that it does not matter what is happening outside of you. The gale can be flowing, can be blowing. Like, you know, you can be in gale force winds. There can be a storm around you. You can be in a blizzard. And what matters actually is what's going on inside of you. Most of us think that we have to remove the blocks outside of us. We don't. When we embrace the blocks outside of us, magic happens. If you look outside here, there are some really beautiful trees, and these trees have been here for a while. The height of a tree is dependent on the depth and the breadth of the roots. The broader, the deeper the roots, the taller the tree grows, the more likely it is to fulfill its potential. What stops those roots are rocks. Most of us would say we need to remove the rocks in our life. I would disagree. The rocks are what got you here. The rocks are the resistance which force you to grow. So rather than remove the rocks, because if you remove rocks underground in trees like this, what actually happens is you destabilize the ground. And you therefore destabilize the tree. So it has a knock-on effect not only on the tree, but also all the trees around it. We talked about support. Trees that grow in forests live far longer than trees that stand alone on top of a mountain. So just imagine if rather than removing the rocks, we actually embraced them. We accepted them. We saw the benefit in them. We became conscious of them. And let me tell you that magic happens every time that happens. I've painted in the snow, I've painted in blizzards, and what I discovered in that moment is that in fact it wasn't me painting. As strange as that sounds, I was observing the painting happening through me, as me. What appeared on the canvas was magic. It was the best painting that I ever created, and it was a seriously big blizzard. The same's happened in the snow and the wind. When we embrace the storm outside, we accept it and we see the benefit in it, magic happens inside and we truly create. What do we need in order for that to happen? We need support. You know, when I go and paint, I spend the first half hour or hour literally putting my paints out, putting the brushes out, setting up the easel, making sure the easel is tied down. Look at these cameras over here. They're all on tripods. Why are they on tripods? Because you cannot create something without a solid support. Now, some people will put a label on that. They'd say that that's masculine energy. You put whatever label you want on it. I call it the art director or the creative director, the person that's holding the space, holding the energy in order for the artist inside us to create. Because we need both of those forces when we are creating. That's the fluidity that Michael's talking about. You can call it magic if you like, but actually you don't even need to give it a label, because when you are truly in that state, which is our natural state, everything flows. How does that happen? It happens when we have support around us, when we feel held. It happens when we identify who we are and why we exist. Not just why we came to this room, why we came to this planet. This is not an easy planet to come to. Let's be honest with ourselves. We face challenges. We face resistance. We will always face resistance. What if instead of pushing away the resistance and resisting the resistance, which just guess what, creates more resistance, we embrace that resistance. We saw the benefit in that resistance, and then we created. That's where magic happens. That's what I've seen time and time again in the mountains. That's what I see time and time again with the students who come through Masterpiece Magic. Now, do we have the one answer to this? No. There are thousands of different answers out there. But what we believe is that there is a template here that is emerging, an experiment, if you like, a laboratory. Sean described it in one way. Michael described it in another way. Shannon will describe it in another way. Amor will describe it in another way. And each of you in this room will describe it in your own way, based on your own experience. Each of us has a piece of the jigsaw. You and I have a piece of the jigsaw. That's why we're here. That's what Masterpiece Magic is about. And it's not about Masterpiece Magic. It's about just creating that space, that community, where we're all creating what we were born to create. I think I've said everything I needed to. So let me hand back to you, Shannon.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alexander. Wow. Amazing. Thank you. I think it's time to open up the floor to anybody that feels called to ask questions or has any comments for our panelists or myself. Please feel free to ask any questions. Linda. What exactly is Masterpiece Magic? Oh, that's a great question, Linda. Thank you. So Masterpiece Magic is an online 6-week program that is global, where teens come to find out who they are and what makes them come alive. I'm really sad that I forgot my vision boards today, because I think that is one of the things that the teens enjoy the most in the program, is taking, we use the process and the cycle of a butterfly to work our way through to create vision boards. And you know, some of the kids, we've had teens from all over the world, and some of the teens that have been in our program don't always have the best family life. And what we encourage them and share with them is that even though this was your story growing up, it doesn't need to be your story moving forward. And we use the vision boards as a tool to help create with them the future that they want to call into their lives, which is so incredibly powerful. And in the end, our final celebration session, the teens get the opportunity to share with each other their vision boards of what they're calling into their life. And it is so incredibly powerful listening to these teens with so much excitement about what they're calling in. So there's so many things about Masterpiece Magic that I can speak to, but I mean, I love the fact that we get an opportunity to speak to emotions and all the different things. And I guess the best way to sum it up would be to actually bring out the video, if we could do that now, if that feels like a fit for you, Kyle. Kyle is my amazing tech guy in the back holding space for all this awesomeness unfolding. So Kyle, you rock.
Just while Kyle is searching for that, can I add something?
You sure can.
So you mentioned the cycle of a butterfly, and I'm sure some of us have looked at this before, but for me it's a really interesting journey. You know, you have a caterpillar, and the caterpillar goes into a cocoon, and out of the cocoon comes a butterfly. Same DNA, by the way. You know, the caterpillar and the butterfly have the same DNA. But what happens in the cocoon for me is really, really interesting. So in the cocoon, the caterpillar actually forms the cocoon around itself. So the outside becomes hardened, it protects itself, it provides itself with its own support, and then it dissolves itself from the inside. Now if you cut open a cocoon midway through, you get goo, neither caterpillar nor butterfly. And all of us go through transformational processes. If we cut ourselves open in the middle of that transformational process, you end up with a mess. What then happens is really, really interesting. That the first thing that happens is these imaginal cells, which form the butterfly, they actually, they start to create the butterfly. But the immune system of the caterpillar stops them until the imaginal cells come together. And when the imaginal cells work together, they overwhelm the immune system of the caterpillar and the butterfly starts to form. They work together in order for it to happen. The butterfly forms, and then just at the moment that the butterfly is ready to come out, it looks like it's dying. So it pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes to get out. What does it do? It then stops pushing. Now, if at that moment we cut open the cocoon, the butterfly will die. Why? Because the pushing is to push the liquid out of the body into the wings so the wings can grow so the butterfly can fly. Isn't it amazing? The story of any transformation. Anyone in this room who's gone through transformation knows that you have to overcome the existing immune system. Right, Bob? And then, when you've overcome the existing immune system and you've made the leap, you need to push and push and push and push. And then you stop. And in the moment you stop, something magical happens. Like this event. Now, it wasn't me who came up with the idea of the cycle of the butterfly. That was Amor. But that now becomes the structure to take every child, every teen through this journey to create their butterfly, their masterpiece. So let's hear from some of them.
Yeah, let's do it. It's coming. Should we ask a few questions first while you sort out technical difficulties? Yes, I'm getting a nod. Okay. Who has another question for the panelists or myself while we're waiting? A comment? Yes?
Beautiful. Thank you for those two questions. I'm not necessarily going to answer them. I'm going to look at my fellow panelists, but I just wanted to summarize them if I could for the recording and also for those online who may not have heard your questions. So what I heard is one is about culture. How do we go back to actually the culture and link into the land in a way that makes sense and into local communities? And the second one I heard was really about power and power structures and how the current education system was a manifestation of colonization. And here am I with a very British accent because I am, and I take full responsibility on behalf of all Brits for that. And I can give an answer, but I'm going to look at Michael and Sean and see if they can dig me out of the hole that obviously us Brits put us into. Yeah, no, I get it. And Sean, you seem to be writing notes. Do you want to? Do you want to take this one? It's a hot potato, right?
I'm just pretending to take notes so that you don't hand me the microphone. I think that is the big question, really. And I think the whole purpose of today is really not coming up with, like, this is the answer, but it's that how can we continue this conversation? And I think that's a great question to surface. And it would be really worthwhile for everybody at the tables to have these conversations and to get together and report back, well, what did you come up with? What did you come up with? But as you were speaking, it reminded me of another quote, which I love, is Buckminster Fuller. And what he said was, you don't change something by fighting the existing reality, but rather to change something, create a new model that makes the existing reality obsolete. Right? So
Amen.
when I apply that to education, right, the education, all these huge institutions in our culture, they're enormous. They're massive things to shift, and they take a lot of time to do. And I think a lot of work is being done within the education system trying to make these cultural shifts and trying to reconcile exactly what you're speaking to. And yet, because it's happening within the same system, you're kind of programmed into the same patterns that have come before, right? So what does the new model look like? I don't know, but I'm again reminded of, well, I'm thinking about remembering, right? And it's kind of this remember to bring back together, right? So it's kind of this process of, those colonizers being in North America and Western world. It's not that we don't come from somewhere, but it's that there's detached from those places and people that we do come from. Maybe it's one generation ago, but I feel like I don't come from anywhere, and I'm attached from the rituals and ceremony of where my people might have been for thousands of years. So what does it look like to reconnect to that place, and how does that, so I'm going to ask more questions. And what does it look like to then incorporate that into these larger questions of who am I, and what is my place, and how do they inform these larger questions for myself as well to help me plant where I actually am and living, right? And so to me, that's really a place-based education, right? Yeah. ... Do you have any thoughts?
Thanks for giving me some time to think about the question. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take you back 5,000 years and very subtly pass the buck from the British to the Sumerians. So the industrial model actually emerged 5,000 years ago in the first civilization in what is modern-day Iran and Iraq. And what they did there is they formed ziggurats. And ziggurats were the first power structures. Before that, we'd lived in villages. For the 5,000 years before that, we lived in villages. And for the 190,000 years before that, going all the way back to the Great Rift Valley where Homo sapiens was first born, we lived in tribes. So tribes, villages, civilization. And every civilization has followed the Sumerian model, which essentially was ziggurats, power structures. So few at the top, and they also invented, by the way, money, administration, so recording of who has what, and they also invented marriage. And the first marriage was not about love, just to be clear. It was about the man guaranteeing that the woman was going to give birth to his child. So we can trace everything back 5,000 years to that point, and every subsequent civilization has refined that model up to the industrial age, where we basically took it a little bit further. So how do we unravel that? That's really the question. How do we unravel power structures? How do we unravel our relationship to money? How do we unravel our relationship to love, thinking it comes from outside us rather than from inside us? And the same is true with power. Because where is true power? Well, our true potential, different word, potentiality is actually inside us. It's not outside of us. But what we've done is we've perceived that the power actually exists outside of us, in the government, in our parents. I mentioned my dad, right? And it would be easy for me to point my finger at my dad. But what I forgot to mention is that my dad had almost gone bankrupt 2 years before. And it was only because the company he was a partner in was bought by a bank that he managed to continue to send me to the school that he'd sent me to. And a year after he told me he ended up in hospital having this much of his gut cut out because he had ulcers. So who am I to point the finger at my dad and say that actually that system of power imposed something on me, because he was going through his own challenges. So where does the power exist? Well, we perceive it's outside. It's not. The potential is inside. But how do you make that shift? And how do you bring it back to the land? Well, the way I did it was by going out and painting, doing something I loved, and feeling into that land and feeling that. But what we do in Masterpiece Magic is we actually talk about power. And for me, when you unlock it, you're actually unlocking the artist inside you. When you unlock that potential. And we shift from external power to internal potential. So I hope that makes sense.
Okay.
Personally, I feel I need more of my own education on let's say the term decolonizing the mind, because it's something I've heard a lot, but I don't know a lot about. But when I think about culture and decolonization and the whole concept around that, the way I perceive it is that what's at the core of the negative aspects of colonization is this concept that was a persistent consciousness in, let's say, the Western mind of scarcity and lack. And I feel when your culture is built on the land around you, when you harmonize with the land of which you live on, then you create abundance in harmony with the nature that you grow in. So when I think of the colonizing of the mind, it makes me think about how we've all been kind of indoctrinated with this idea that there isn't enough to go around. So therefore, that inevitably leads to competition and destruction and greed and all these negative aspects of our current culture that we have in the West that has kind of been spread across the whole world. And I won't say it's the West that started that. We've been competing and destroying each other for millennia. But it's the idea that we're getting away from our roots. When we are attached to our roots, when we work with the water and the land and the plants and the trees, and we have a connection internally, spiritually, to ourselves and to our community, and we know ourselves as not just one single being competing for my own self and my own family, but a true community, and potentially a global community someday, that is in touch with our nature, that allows us to decolonize the mind. From my perspective, I welcome anybody to educate me more on this idea, because it's something I definitely have an interest in. But when we believe in scarcity, when we believe that there's not enough food on the planet, or there's not enough clean water, and we inherently have lack in our beings, then we are subject to those lower states of consciousness of fear and greed and destruction. And I think that's just a consequence of the human condition when we are living in fear. It's not subject to one particular history or culture or race that goes to that. Every culture, every race across the planet is subject to this idea. When we really truly believe in lack and scarcity, we all get scared and we all want to take from each other when we don't have this knowing within that we are already whole. And if we work within ourselves and the nature around us, we can create abundance not only for ourselves but our collective community.
Beautiful. Oh, amen. Thank you, Michael. Okay, wow, amazing. Well, I'm going to shift gears here and show you this amazing slideshow, if it's working now, Kyle. All right, yay.
Masterpiece Magic is a place where, for me, in the evening, you can have a little bit of fun, you can find yourself, you can learn stuff about yourself that you didn't know when you woke up this morning. You get to meet new people, and yeah, you get to find a new person in you.
And I really love the gene keys. For us to be consistently, be consistently enlightened, consistently, in peace of mind, we're gonna have to go through all these negative emotions, wrath, anger,
I think I actually had two favorite parts. My top two would definitely be the vision boards and then the I am statements with Marin. I really loved that. Like, even if you feel vulnerable or if you haven't done something before, and this is actually an area that I am not perfect in. I don't love being vulnerable, and I have a tendency to get defensive. So I think it's important that a lot of strength in vulnerability. I really love this course. I think it's so amazing. There's hope, and you can open yourself back up again and live really incredible lives. So thank you for that.
My favorite part was the gene keys and the I am statement. And my biggest takeaway was not to feel afraid to express yourself.
I actually really liked the nutrition one with that. I really liked that one because my family is big on that. They used to own a health food store, my parents, so I've been taught just about health and stuff, so I really like that one. Probably follow like your dreams, follow your passions, and also like don't be afraid to like be who you are kind of thing.
It's a course that helps you that can help you in many different ways. And what else is it literally is magic. It transforms me in like ways you could never imagine. Like it could create a new person, like a new you, a better version of yourself.
Oh, wow. This is what we're creating. I honestly, every time I would ask the teens after the cohorts were done, I would say, ask if they would do a little thing about their favorite part, and I couldn't have scripted them. If I had told them to write that, they just did it without, they just said it better than I could ever have explained it. So to the amazing teens, I guess we're getting close to time here. I'm so glad that you're all here and that you're all still here. And so the next question is that how can you help? So if you feel called, you can share Masterpiece Magic with your friends. You can tell someone about it. You can go up onto our website. You can check it out. Of course, we would not be here today if it wasn't for our sponsors. So if you feel called to sponsor, you can do that. That would be amazing. You can check in with Marty at the end. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or leave your phone number. This program, I've known from the very beginning, was going to be a collaboration of amazing human beings. And that means when people come together and support this program, there is love in all ways. The people that donate the money, that then come to bring the teens to the program, and it's just an amazing, amazing program. So there's lots of ways that you can participate. So with that said, I see Amor jumping up online here. Hi, Amor. Thank you again for being with us. It's been amazing. I don't know if she's able just to say a quick goodbye. Okay, Amor, quick goodbye. Yay.
Yay! Every time I watch the teens speak, I just get so excited and very glad to be a part of this journey. Masterpiece Magic, you have questions. What is it about? The kids, teens have said so much, and there's much, much more. And it's not easy to explain in words. And if you do have teens, yeah, they probably can jump on and tell you better once they take the course and the program. But that said, this Do You Believe in Magic started as a blank canvas with Shannon's inspiration and her first stroke of paint of love. And then every one of you here present have also contributed with another stroke of love. The sponsors, the panelists, the tech team, we thank you for all your contributions. It has become like this painting at the back, a beautiful painting with everyone's strokes of love. And how do we shine the light on the teens, on the kids, outside and within the classroom, right?
Beautiful. Thank you, Amor. Sending you so much love. I know I feel you here. So, Masterpiece Magic is all the things that I wish that I knew when I was a teen. And here I am now, full circle, having this experience in grade 2 where my teacher told me that I failed in front of my class. And now fast forward, turning 50 just last week, and now having the opportunity to do what I love, and that's teaching kids to do what they love and know what makes them come alive. And so, what if self-love was the medicine? What if we were not afraid to make mistakes? What if it is not about looking outside of ourselves? What if our teens and our kids knew that everything that we need is right here? Nowhere else. Not out there, right here. So with that said, I have my favorite poem. 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and this poem reminded me every day to keep shining. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us. It is in every one of us. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give the other people permission to do the very same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to say that we are a big thanks to Alexander and Michael and Sean for being here today, and Kyle back there and his partner in crime, and my amazing husband, Marty, who is my rock and the reason why I'm here today. So thank you, Marty. I want to thank all of you for being here today and feeling my heart and believing in me, because you are the mirrors to who I am. So thank you. I'm excited that we get to draw 2 baskets that have $1,000 of amazing prizes in them. So Grandmama, if you're out there, or Marty, whoever wants to bring those up. And Linda, thank you again for all the beautiful flowers on the table. If you feel called, one of the seats on your table underneath has a little piece of paper, and if you're sitting in that seat, that flower arrangement on that table is yours. And so Marty is bringing up the basket here. Get out your little ticket. All right. Oh. Oh, okay, I got a microphone. Oh, Marty's bringing the baskets. Oh, a big shout out to all the amazing local sponsors. Again, this is another testament to effortlessness. I literally went out to the community, and in 5 short days, I collected $2,000 in donations. And that's just what's in these baskets. And a big shout out to Crown Isle. I didn't realize how expensive food was. And so when the food bill came in, I was like, oh man, I don't have enough to pay for all that. And he's like, well, why don't we just comp the room and all the AV equipment? I was like, yeah, let's do that. So yay, Crown Isle. And Sean, let's do this. First basket is going to...
The winner is 725019. Yay! All right.
Congrats, Jen. Alrighty, here we go. We got 725058. Oh.
That's so great. Thank you, Christine. Oh, amazing. Yay. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Well, everyone, don't run away. There is beautiful food outside. Thank you to Cameron Contracting, and thank you for all of you joining me today. We're here to answer questions. The panelists will be around. Alexander doesn't fly out till 5 o'clock, so we're not running away. He's actually heading to Belize, if you can believe that. He's got to take 5 flights. Can you believe he's going to Belize next? So thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart. This has been such a beautiful experience, and I love you all. Thank you.